All right, we'll get going here, guys. It's 7 o'clock. So, for those that just signed on, I'm Brad Gillies. I'm the Upstate Club Director with Sweetlax. I'm joined by Randy Staats and Cam Mann. Cam Mann is down in Florida. He coaches at Nice High School in the Jacksonville area right now. Both these guys I grew up playing against. So Cam was a 4-year captain at Jacksonville. He coached at the Hill Academy, played high school at Salisbury School, which a number of our players with Sweetlax do, and then also a member in the NLL with the Colorado Mammoth. And also a Jacksonville Phins Coach with the Sweetlax regional program. So it's great to have him on. And I know right now down in Florida, we have some big plans to hopefully bring some box across to a bunch of these regions, and I know Cam will be a big part of it, hopefully up in Jacksonville, and I'm excited to hopefully have a part in that and see what they can kind of bring box-wise. And that's the point of this, is to kind of help tease a little bit of box stuff, concepts to our Florida people, and as well as our upstate families, and just reinforce some of the crossovers that are in box and field. And so I also have Randy Staats here, who went to Syracuse, current member of the Gerogia Swarm, one of the top players in our league, no doubt in my mind, and an NLL champion, so countless awards and everything. So we're really lucky to be joined by him. So appreciate both of you guys coming on.
Thank you for having us.
So as I mentioned, the point of this webinar is just to discuss the crossover between box cross and field. Myself, I'm a huge advocate of what the box game can do for players' field games. I know both of you guys are as well. We're seeing the influx of Canadians that are coming down into the NCAA and performing really, really well. And many of them don't have that much field experience, but it's all due to their box experience and just growing up playing inside the box. Your skills just get so strong, and when you transfer it over to the field game, you can easily see the guys that have box experience. So it's partly my mission up here in Rochester to bring a bunch of box across to the Rochester area. And I know Kevin Dugan has plans to help launch a lot of Florida box across as well. So we're really excited about that. And you guys got anything to add to that, just as far as what box across can do, and what do you guys think about all that?
Yeah, I think box across, I mean, in general, you continue to see it growing in different places now, and the skills translate in different ways. Sometimes, and we'll see through some of these clips, I'm sure, some of the things that don't even catch your eyes that are happening maybe off ball or kind of away from the ball that translate if you can pick them up and learn them, and the more experience you get with those. So I'm excited to kind of teach that down here in Florida, and hopefully let these Florida lacrosse players kind of get a taste for that and really transform their field game as well.
Yeah, for me, I think it's like the tight spaces in box, right? It makes you make quicker decisions and always being aware. In field lacrosse, you have a lot more time. So moving from box to field, that time that you don't have in box is there in field. So it really helps you out in that aspect.
So we'll get right into these clips. So the first, I've got a few clips of Randy with Georgia and Syracuse. So just pumping his tires a little bit, but you'll see in this first clip, it's Randy and Lyle Thompson, who are two of the best in the two-man game, which is just the pick and roll between two guys. And you'll see all this is a down pick. And so with with Sweetlax, we call this a taco. It's just a two-man game on the side of the field, and it's just kind of a pass down, pick down type play. So you'll see Randy and Lyle execute this. A few things to watch here. You'll see Randy roll right after he sets that pick, and Lyle brushes shoulders with Randy and comes right around that pick, ready to shoot, and they end up scoring here. So let's see another view here. We'll watch it a couple times, but the first couple of things I'll just mention and how it translates to field. So you'll see Randy comes inside and then goes and sets that pick right here. I'll back it up a little bit. He's not just coming straight towards Lyle to set that pick, but he first drives his man inside, and then he comes and sets that inside pick there. And you'll see it in this next field across play. It's the exact same thing. We want to drive our man in first and then come set that pick instead of just running straight down and setting that pick. So you see that. And then rolling right away is just a really important thing. As soon as he comes and sets that, he's rolling right away. It lets the defender switch, and we get a pretty easy goal. Randy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, if you back it up to the beginning, I think a lot of people sometimes in box and field, you see how Lyle right here is engaging his man. A lot of times when people are setting picks, they think the guy setting the pick is most important. But when I try to explain it, I think the ball carrier has just as much as an influence on making the pick work, right? So he gets into his man and makes his guy play him. So he makes contact with the defender there, allowing me to come in there and, bump him off his path right here. See, Lyle's got his hands. The guy's back's turned to me, so I have an opportunity to hit his back and then roll to the net. One other thing that we talk about in every set of lacrosse is the V-cut that Brad talked about, and rolling to the net. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing when you're waiting for a pick is getting into your guy and allowing him to make contact so there's the defender's back's turned for the picker.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think just to add on, I think Randy hit the nail right on the head there, and that's kind of what I was going to say with engaging your guy. And you see these people that play box lacrosse in the Canadians, they feel comfortable with pressure on their hands, and that's why they're able to make those in-tight adjustments and score from those low areas. I think the one other point that I would make is, as we rewind it back to the beginning here, Brad, is you see where Lyle kind of sets himself up. We call that area in box across the half boards. He's not down by the crease. He's given that option for him to go either underneath or over the top, so that it has to keep that defender honest. To set yourself up in a position where you can be a threat going either way to either hand, especially in the field game, makes a lot of difference with all that space that you got.
I got one last thing to add here too. If Lyle doesn't engage his man here and lets the defender just sit back, then it's an easy switch for the defense, and then the pick and roll does not work at all. So.
And you'll see this. So it's almost the exact same type of play, but in this next clip, but in the field across setting. So it's just obviously we have way more space to deal with here, but the principles are very, very similar. So as I mentioned, this is what we call a taco. And all we're doing is passing down. We have two lefties here, and we're doing the exact same thing. We want to pass that ball down to our lefty attackman, or it can be a midi. And similar to what Cam was saying there, he wants to set himself up in this almost right around the middle of the box here and the sideline, so that when he does come and sweep across that pick, he's in a good spot instead of being up top, right up here, or down too far low. You want to be able to come out that pick and be in a good shooting place. So you'll see this almost the exact same type thing, but obviously we have a little more space to deal with. We can get a little bit more speed, but the principles are the exact same. So we'll play this one through. So Nick Luis does a good job of coming right in and then setting up. And then obviously in field, we have to set our feet. You saw Randy was able to move and push the guy a little bit. In field, we have to set our feet. We get a great shot out of it. So it's obviously a very, very similar play, but in two different games. And as I mentioned, having the ability to do this in box in the tight space with defenders right on your hands and very little time, it'll translate so well, because we have full head of steam. We got lots of space, and it just allows us to use our athleticism a little bit more with the same concept. Anything to add there to that, guys?
I think Cam said it in the last one. And you just said it too, not setting yourself up too high or too low, having that middle so you can either go underneath or go over the top, and having both those options, because, you got to be creative out there. And if you keep going one way every time, the defender's going to read and react to that.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention as well. Our eyes are obviously fixated on the two-man game, and we're talking about that taco look in Sweetlax. But even in the indoor clip we saw, as well as this one, those other guys off ball are all moving and making themselves a threat, which makes it a lot harder on the defense. And again, we talk about it all the time in field, all 6 guys doing their job. And it's the same thing in the box lacrosse game, where if one guy's not doing his job offensively, it's an easy slide or an easy double for the defense.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of these guys exchanging on the backside there, just to help occupy their man. And it puts so much pressure on the defense because if they want to slide, they have to slide adjacent, and hopefully both of our guys are in good positions where it's just an easy forward pass, and then we're going and finding a 2-on-1 and getting a good shot. So sure. The off-ball piece is very, very important. I like that. So this next clip, we had mentioned it before. Randy mentioned it before about how comfortable a lot of box players are with pressure on their hands. The most difficult thing I find coaching young box cross players that have just primarily played field is that point. They shy away from the pressure, and they want to run at the pick with the full head of steam, where you want to try to almost post up your guy a bit and initiate that contact. And you have to do that a ton in box, and you just get so comfortable with guys all over your hands, and it translates so well to that when a long pull's on your hands, you deal with that pressure quite easily. And if anybody had watched Randy at Syracuse, he would always just be posting up his long pulls down here at X and just kind of playing with them, and it puts them in really uncomfortable positions because defenses don't know if they should slide. They just kind of get their guys on an island. So you'll see Randy did that a million times in the box game, so it makes it really, really easy in the field game. So just an inside roll here, you're posting up your guy, and then it's just you're handling the pressure, and then it's just a quick inside roll to.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that briefly.
Yeah, I think a big thing in field lacrosse, especially, is getting high enough, like to the 5-and-5 or higher. I find a lot of times when kids or people try to inside roll, they inside roll at like the 3rd yard mark, and when they try to roll, they're already like on goal line extended, so they have no really angle. So getting nice and high, like it gave me space to come underneath, and kind of drive and dunk that. But I think when you talk about dealing with pressure, with pressure, I don't think personally, like after a while, I'm not really worried about the guy covering me. I'm more worried about the slide guy, right? Because I know I got to protect my stick and get into his body, but the next thing you got to worry about is who's coming to help, right? So just being comfortable and always having your head up is one of the biggest things for me.
I think Randy does a great job in both those clips, as he said, protecting his stick as he comes out of that roll. You see that a lot in high school and in youth field lacrosse, is that when guys do have their defender beat and they come out of their roll, is they bring that stick back to shoot. When you get in within that 2 to 5 yard range, you got to realize you don't need to bring your hands all the way back to shoot the ball, as long as you're shooting to a corner. So he keeps that stick out in front of him, using his shoulder blades to protect it. And then it's just a quick snap of his wrist to put that to where it wants it to go.
From a dodging standpoint too, if we rewind this clip, if you're dodging from behind the cage, either side, left hand or right hand, you don't want to attack the defender's bottom hand, because that's where his base of his strength's from. You want to attack his top hand because he's got a 6-foot pole, right? So if you can run to the top of his stick, he doesn't have the lean that he does if you're attacking the bottom. Because if you attack the bottom, then he can push out with his hips. See, he's using his top hand here to try to push me out, and then he overextends, which allows me to roll underneath.
The last piece I want kids to watch here is just how you release your stick here. And you'll see a lot of box players just do it with ease in terms of having their hands across their shoulders and still having the ability to shoot, where a lot of field players have the tendency to have the big wind up down the alley and just be able to get your hands back. But this situation, you're almost shooting a lefty type shot. It's almost more on your left shoulder than your right. We call that a twister for the most part. It's not really a full twister here. It's more right over the top. But that in box, you'll see guys take a million shots like that, especially in tight. And you have to have the ability now to shoot at these low angles and increase your angles without just having to switch hands. It just takes too much time to switch hands in these tight areas. So Randy just kind of brings a hand right over his top and gets that shot off. So what the box game does for your creativity around the net and being able to have different release points is a very, very important part.
Just to spin off that too, I mean, that shot's not hard at all, right? It's more deceiving the goalie with having it so high and then kind of like the twister you're talking about. And it's about placement. The shot's not that hard. It's about tricking the goalie and kind of putting it in a good area.
Mm-hmm. So this next clip's just another taco type pick that I just wanted to talk through, and we do get another pretty good look, and they also the guy is open slightly for the roll too. So I just want to touch on how we react, I guess, when defenders play it a certain way, if they're switching early, if they if they're hedging that pick, kind of what to do in those kind of situations. So one reason why we like these picks is a lot of times, especially to long poles, teams don't want to switch, or if they do, we're switching attackman to a short stick. So it's another advantage to us. So it just puts teams in very uncomfortable positions because they don't just have a slide man set up on the crease. They are almost playing it 2-on-2 as well. So he's open slightly for that roll there. But what that roll does is it forces the defender to play him, and now it gives us our guy a step. So say he didn't roll and he just stays, that defender is able to stay, be help, and be able to cover you. So he does a really nice job of rolling to the net there right away, and it forces this defender to have to look there, and it allows our guy to turn the corner.
I like what you said there about rolling to the net. One common mistake we often see in the field game is when you roll out to space, because again, you're not comfortable about rolling into the defense. You're worried about where that slide might be coming from and handling the ball, maybe taking a check. But it's important to continue to be a threat, because that's what's going to cause that defender either to come to you or to catch and then get across in front of the net so you can have a better angle to shoot.
Yeah, and roll in the right way. He does a great job of there too, and it's something that we touch on in the box game all the time. You should never take your eye off of your partner here as you're rolling to the net, and we do a great job of it here. As you see, he is continually watching them. What a lot of kids will turn their head. I don't know if this will make sense, but turns their head that way instead of the right way, which he did. He turned his head this way, and so his eyes never came off his offensive partner here. He's able to see him the entire time, and he potentially gets a good look. But if he doesn't do that, like you said, that defender doesn't have to respect him, and we don't get that look. So it's just another great play where you're seeing the box game kind of being integrated with the field lacrosse game. This last pick clip, I just had to throw in some RIT stuff here to give a little bit of shout out to the boys, but they what RIT done. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but we've had a ton of Canadians there, and we've had to be able to figure out how to utilize the Canadians effectively, and so that's why they've been really big on using these two-man games all over the field to help use the strengths of the Canadian guys. So what we've seen in the past couple of clips are our defense is not switching those picks, and that allows the ball carrier to get a step on his man. But in this clip, you'll see the defense wants to almost switch that pick, and that guy's looking to switch, and it allows Alistair Warren, the number 24 here, to slip to the net and catch a pass from Ryan Lee, who's a Colorado Mammoth guy right now. I think they're leading scorer this year. So they do a great job in this two-man game of just slipping the pick. Let that play through. So as you see, number 6 tries to switch it for a second, and then that's right when you slip to the net. So you just got to try to keep defense honest in that sense there. Randy, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, for me, I mean, he did a good job. You call it a tackle, right?
Yep.
Pass down, pick down. He did a good job of V cutting and then going to look like he's going to set the pick, making number 6 jump, right, and then just flashing to the net. So he did a good job of getting in and getting out, I like to call it. I mean, that's well done. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the deception he uses there as he comes sets the pick and slows down, and then the change of speeds when he does flash to the net goes a long way to freezing that defender, thinking that it's just going to be a simple pick, which causes him to kind of slow up, and then he flashes hard to the net there.
Yeah, and that's the type of pick or play you'll see in box all the time, and it's something. It's just these guys make that look so simple because look at the space that they have to deal with. But in box, you have to be able to execute this in half of the space, if not a quarter of that space. So they obviously it looks like a really simple play in this clip right here, but in box you'll get defenses that are switching picks all the time, and that's all they're doing is just whenever someone comes to a down pick, they're switching it before you even get close to the guy. So this is something that in box lacrosse you'll utilize all the time because you have to keep defenses honest, and you'll be slipping to the net and doing these exact same principles, which then if you get, like I've said a couple times, you get out on this big field, you can make these plays look really, really easy if you do have a defense that's cheating a little bit. And so one thing he does really good here too is gets his stick in a nice open spot too, right out in front of his body. So he has a nice target right to where to put that and lead that pass to him. So that's a really important part there is not just kind of carrying your stick right by your chest. You're giving him a big target out front to lead you, and you can run into a little bit. And then the second part is just protecting your stick. And as soon as he brings that stick up to his head, he's shooting it. It's you have to protect your stick as long as you can, and then as soon as you have it, then you got to be ready to shoot it. So it's I like this play a lot because we saw just the pure picks a couple times, but you have to be able to keep defenses honest and slip to the net if they are just switching that pick early.
As an offensive player, just to spin off this a little bit, as an offensive player, if you go back to the beginning, I think Cam mentioned it earlier, the way he like freezes number 6 and then changes speed to go to the net, I mean, that's special right there. You know, you got to recognize that as an off-ball player that your defenseman's playing you a little lightly and then just, like you said, bust the space and have your stick up. It's not a hard shot either. It's right off the ear there.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so those are the 6 clips I had. I didn't want to – we don't want to go too long and keep it as brief as we can. But as we just kind of hit on 2 parts of the box game, just kind of these two-man game stuff. And I think just that's just such a quick translation that you can already see in the field lacrosse game. You see two-man games at X all the time where guys are setting picks and slipping, and you see these stuff already in field lacrosse. And why we love our kids that play box is just all that stuff is just amplified, and you see it on every shift scale. You're setting 1 million picks every time you're out there. You're always rolling to the net. You're always having your stick up. You're always rolling. It's just so much is crammed into a 30-second shift. Then you go take a break and you go do it again. And so it's something I'm very passionate about. Us at Sweetlax, we're very passionate having our kids try to play the box game, because we know what it's going to do to your field lacrosse game. And we know the Division I coaches right now love recruiting these box players, and it's only going to keep growing and growing and growing as we can see. So I don't know if maybe I don't know if you guys got anything else to add, but I think just speaking in general, Cam, what kind of stuff do you guys have planned in Jacksonville as far as box across, or I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but just.
No, not at all. We're hoping down here with Kevin Dugan and their representatives of Sweetlax is to start trying to form regional teams around the state and treat it as it happens up there in Ontario and British Columbia specifically, where you can compete in your region and then hopefully eventually name a champion in your region, and then there can be some sort of state tournament. I think that's kind of the end goal. It's just introducing the game now. I know down south in Florida, they started to in that Tampa and Orlando area. And we're starting to implement a couple of things here in Jacksonville. It's finding the facilities in the right place, because when we do bring it and we start introducing it, we want to make sure we're doing it the right way. So we're excited. I mean, just from these 6 clips, you can see how much the field game or the box game translates into the field game. And it does in so many more ways than just the 2-man game and the in-tight spacing and the finishing, which you hear from all the Canadians that play in NCAA. If you think of guys like Brian Cole or Jeff Teat, and Randy touched on it a little earlier, is the skill of realizing where the slide's coming from. That's a box translation where when you're in tight, you always have to know who might be coming across the floor or who might be switching to you. So having your head up and being able to step away and make a play to that slide guy is something that I think a lot of box players don't get credit for, and that translates to the game. So I think there's a ton of skills, and we could sit here and talk for hours about it. But the 2-man game is obviously the one that sticks out, and we're hoping that we can use that to our advantage down here in Florida and have these athletes that play the game start learning to do it in smaller spaces and at a quicker pace.
Yeah, I think that's our thoughts exactly. Is just thinking about these athletes that are down in Florida. If they're able to hone in some of that athleticism and get into some tighter spaces and get the skill of box cross, they're going to be some scary guys coming out of Florida. And I think a lot of our upstate players are starting to take advantage of this stuff, which is great to see. And I'm really excited for the kids that are going to be playing box starting from 5th grade up to see what they can develop into as lacrosse players. It's if they continue to dedicate themselves to it, the sky's the limit for a lot of these kids, which is going to be pretty cool to watch. And I think we obviously touched on 6 offensive clips, but I think defenders kind of get put on the other side of the box lacrosse conversation, but there's a ton of benefits that defenders can get from this, is just right off the bat of using a short stick and getting their stick skills up. But being able to defend 2-man games is going to be a necessary thing. It already is a necessary thing in the field lacrosse game, and being able to do it constantly in the box game is going to translate very, very well. And your ground ball skills, everything is just it's just heightened. And so I know we harp on the offensive guys that can get the benefits, but defensive guys can get a ton of benefits from this. Especially some of our kids kind of get a long pole in their hand starting in 6th grade and just primarily use that, and being able to get a short stick in their hands just helps them immensely. Randy, any closing thoughts you got?
No, I one quick thing that just came to my mind is, as I'm not a defenseman, but I mean, playing against defenses all the time, the communication that they have in box lacrosse, like, it is so loud. The defense all the defenses is chattering, and the footwork on the guys, because they don't have a 6-foot pole. I think those 2 things are huge translation into the field lacrosse game, because I mean, when I'm on offense, that's all you can hear is defenders talking. And from an offensive standpoint, I think there's not really any downside to playing box lacrosse at all. I mean, it gets you in tighter spaces, it gets you a quicker release, and you can play with contact. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I just my last closing thoughts. I haven't really with Upstate, our the program that I run is called Roots Box Lacrosse for those that don't know, and we run a youth box lacrosse league in the fall, some teams in the winter time, as well as a box tournament, and then also helping with the junior Nighthawk stuff in August. So hopefully those you Sweetlax people that are upstate that are on this will take advantage of those opportunities. Obviously we've harped on it, but there's just so many benefits to your field game, and we want you to take advantage of that stuff. So appreciate both you guys coming on. It means a lot to us, and we're very grateful to continue to get these great guests, and these are two really strong ones. So appreciate you guys helping us out here. Hope you're staying safe.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you.
See ya.